Welcome back to Mud, Dust and Gears as we stay in the area around Freiburg for the opening round of the Northern Regions Cross Country Championship Series for 2018. The Molopo 250 still staying on lap number 1, but the Class D battle was starting to now heat up. Donny Deploy and Paul Murray were getting closed down, and big time. Andre Gildenace and Victor Fincham were on fire as they closed to within around about 20 seconds of the Toyota in front of them, and it was now on. Class D versus Class E was the story of the day. Very often you'd expect the Class D to be a faster car, but the experienced pairing in the Class E6 Toyota Hilux of Gildenace and Fincham, local guys as well, knew exactly what they were doing, and at the road crossing, this is how close it was getting. Deploy and Murray would jump across, closely followed by the Class E Flyers of Gildenace and Fincham, and it wouldn't be long until the pass was on. Just after the road crossing and into the mud, Gildenace and Fincham were now looking for the gap. At this point, they were in the dust and getting held up. With no screamers on our regional category cars, it was only going to be looking in the mirror to find out, or having a little tap sometimes, whether there was someone behind you. On board with Deploy and Murray as they navigate their way through the edge of the field. Looks like they were holding something back there to allow the Class E car to come past, or had they just simply gone offline. A challenging section there, and it looks like they were a little bit crossed up. Back into the track though, and our invitational category, the side-by-sides, Dean Bradbury and GJ Claassen in the Can-Am X3 were just loving life. Open cockpit though means you get all that roost in your face, and as the side-by-sides started to catch up into the rest of the categories, it was time to hold your breath, because now it was just going to be all about trying to find that pass. And if you go offline, you don't want to be hitting those anthills. Sometimes everyone plays the game though. Nice to see a little bit of a hoot, a high five and a thank you, and back on the gas to run clear air out front. As you can see, no windscreen on the side-by-sides, so all of that roost, dust, rocks and whatever else flies off the wheel of the car in front of you goes straight into your face. Those visors get replaced after almost every single time out. Side-by-sides, like we say, a bit of a revelation over the last couple of seasons. Very, very fast development. As you can hear, it is a belt drive. No gears, or centrifugal gearbox as they say. So no shifting, just the two pedals to play with. Rodney Cook and Jaco Skitter, a little bit more work to do for them in the E14 Nissan Hardbody. And this new pairing were really flying. The talk at the halfway mark, end of lap number 1, was that these guys were cooking. The E category, again, one of the most competitive categories out there. And remember, Jaco Skitter, son of Gerard Skitter, freshly back from his Dakar duties alongside Henny de Klerk, and it does seem that the navigational apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. Ignace Duplessis and Jean Vermaak, soft suspension, but they said that's how they set up their car, especially for this terrain. And the Isuzu KB300, absolutely pinpoint perfect the whole way through the opening lap thus far, and the E18 was on for a consistent drive coming towards the end of lap number 1. You'll notice on the car, it does tend to dive a little bit more at the front end than the other cars do, but that is purely to find that extra little bit of traction in these soft conditions. They clearly know that the area around Freiburg at this time of year, you're going to be battling for traction in the sand and the mud. Good call, Duplessis. The good thing about lap number 1 was not too many drivers were catching each other up, meaning that the cars were able to breathe and stay cool and not get choked up in the radiators and the engines with all of the dust. So not too many overheating problems coming into the pits. Tinas and Tian Leroux in the Sandmaster in the ultra competitive Class Ps were getting the job done in the P52. The ruts by this stage, as you went outside of the top 20 in qualifiers, the ruts were getting super deep, And that's great news for the special vehicles, especially the Sandmasters that do run shorter suspension and skinnier front tires. They really need those ruts to be able to lock themselves into a turn and get the hookup. Also, because of the slightly less power than the Class P special vehicles run, they do like to rail nice corner speed. So these stop-starts aren't good for them. You can see they're running Cooper tires, but not the huge tires that you would see on the Porters and things like that. The Sandmaster basically runs the same tires as you would see on the Buckies, but only driving power through the back wheels has its challenges. Once you're up to speed, it's cool, but getting there can be a little bit of a journey. These guys were going to try and see what they could do about walking away with the special vehicle win overall, as well as the win in the Class Ps, because they knew they were on form coming to the end of last season. Again, you know you're getting close to the end of the loop, because this is a very similar area used in the 42k time trial. As we go back and pick up on Tinas Tatoy and Arnold Walkier, they would end up having a pretty nightmarish day. A piece of wire wrapped around their prop shaft, and it eventually damaged their oil seal later on in the lap. Then the intercooler pipe came off. One of those days to forget. For now, they were trying to just stay rolling forwards. That's what off-road racing is all about. You will have your problems, your day will come, but when the day is clean, wow, those are just awesome times. For now, they were just living on, trying to stay in the mix and come to the end of the lap. It was clear from the sound of the engine as well. It just wasn't perfect. A little bit further back and picking up on the second of the Fords in the entry, Diedrich and Rickers Hutting. They'd had a slow start to their time trial and said they didn't really go out there in full attack mode, and the D67 Ford Ranger was just out there to really find that setup, find that sweet spot. Round number one, so often an extended shakedown session before the rest of the season comes into play. It's a long year, and when it starts so early, really almost going for the overshoot there. To finish my thought there, when it starts so early, it can be a bit of a war of attrition. Round number 2 and round number 3, close, just around the bend. Right now, it was all about Freiburg and getting the job done at the Molopo 250, hosted by the Freiburg Motor Club. Tony and Mikey Gouveia, they were looking to see what they could do in the Class P52 CRT. Very technical track, asking a lot of the automated gearbox. But like we say, Tony and Mike have done a lot of testing and put some time in the off-season to really change their style of driving as they went forward into the CRT. Regan Alston and Trevor Robinson in their Toyota Hilux chasing down a strong finish in the D16. They would eventually try and challenge for a top 10 overall come the end of play. Mud and dust, and you can see the front of the car is absolutely roosted to pieces. You can't see that classic, well, you can a little bit when you go to the side there, the classic orange colors that they run. Midas, of course, one of our big sponsors at the event, Midas Freiburg, alongside Max Petroleum, Andre Koch and Siens, and Off-Road Alley, bringing us all of this incredible action from the opening round of the 2018 Northern Region Off-Road Championship. The Mitsubishi Colt, as we said before, all of the manufacturers well represented as we go through the field. And a great job it is too. You can see the dust getting kicked up in the background, so as we close in a little bit further down in the pack, the guys sitting outside of the top 30 overall, they were starting to trip over each other, and that early morning breeze that had kept the dust away was long since gone, meaning the dust was starting to hang, and that can be a real challenge. Cecil Fincham and David Bailfelt were keeping the Zeds up and alive as they duked it out for class championship honours. For now, the Z99 was in good shape. In the SXS Invitational category, that's Class Gs, Ronnie Burtis was chasing down on Etienne Fenter. Nico Durant and JG Clausen, unfortunately having problems early on in the day, were a no-show. So it was a two-horse race between Burtis and Fenter, as well as Dean Bradbury and Timmy Burtis. For now, Burtis was doing a great job in the 444. The race was getting long in the day, so join us after the break as we bring all our boys and girls home. See who the winners were at the Molopo 250.